And we're back. So what I'm going to do on this video is break down what new bodybuilders, specifically like new competitors, I should say, should look towards, things to really think about when they're starting a prep. The first one I want to touch on is coaching, right? I'm a coach. This is what I do for a living. I coach athletes for bodybuilding comps. I also coach athletes for CrossFit, MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, marathon runners, stay-at-home moms, the full spectrum of people that just want to get in shape, into a complexity level where people need to meet weight for a competition or need to get ultra shredded for a competition as well. So with my experience in dealing with a lot of competitors and coaching a lot of competitors, these are things that I think are going to help a lot of people if you're doing your first bodybuilding competition. And this goes for bodybuilders, classic physique, men's physique, bikini, wellness, figure, etc. The first thing you're going to want to look for is a coach. Let's say you've never competed before. Let's say you have no idea what you're doing, but you want to step on stage eventually. First objective number one is get a coach. Biggest advice I could give somebody is never do it on your own, because you have no idea what you're doing and you need somebody with experience to lead you into these other finite things that go on in the competition itself, which we'll get into later on. But number one is, please go get a coach. Don't just try to go get a popular coach, or don't just try to go get some local dude at the gym who's competed once or twice. My advice is to really look into these coaches. And you don't need a coach that lives in your area. You don't. Everything's done online nowadays. Sometimes it's even easier that way. Is it better for a coach to see you in person when it comes closer to your show? Yes, definitely. But you don't necessarily need that, because you have awesome pictures and video and you have all this stuff now where you don't really need a coach in person. Some of the biggest names in coaching, they coach people from around the world and they never see these people in person. And when you're also looking for a coach, I would say the best thing is to ask a lot of questions. Questions on education, questions on experience. Let's say you find a coach that you really like. You should DM or message the people that he or she coaches and then ask the athlete themselves, hey, what is it like working with this coach? I'm kind of interested in their coaching program and I want to get ready for my show. Is there anything that you could tell me on this person's coaching? And it'll give you a lot of insight without the bias from the coach themselves. DM the coach, ask them a bunch of questions, experience, education, all of those things. Ask the athlete who's being coached by the person that you want to be with. And then just ask them, what is it like? You know, it's the same thing as asking your friend, was that donut shop cool? You know, you're going to ask your friends before you go to a restaurant and stuff like that. Number two is going to be check-ins with your coach. When you do your check-ins, you have to send your coach pictures or a video, whichever one that they want. You doing your mandatory poses usually, right? One thing you cannot do is filter your videos in pictures. For the love of Jesus, stop filtering your check-in photos. You're setting yourself up for failure. My word of advice, actually make your pictures look worse than they are. Not with filters, but set up like harsh lights everywhere and make yourself don't do it deliberately, but you kind of just want to make yourself look worse than what you really are. And why do I say that? It's because you have to prepare yourself for show day. A majority of these shows have very harsh, bright lighting, and it is not good looking at all. Gyms like 24-hour fitness, all these other gyms, they have really great lighting. They actually spend money and spend research into making the lighting look good, because when you're in the gym, you look better than what you are. We all know this. That's why everyone takes pictures in the gym and they're not taking pictures at home. Crappy lighting, because nobody looks how they look in the gym when they look at home. Reverse that example. You need to look worse. So I like to use harsh lighting. I'll just use the front camera on my iPhone because it's really crappy compared to the other side of the camera, and it makes things a little bit grainier. So when I do my check-ins with my coach, or I have somebody do check-ins with me, I like to have a video. I like to have the lighting be not that pleasant, because if you look terrible, I know what I need to do to make you look sharper. And then think about it like this. If you look awesome in terrible lighting, you are going to look fantastic on stage with a tan, being dried out, looking the best you've ever looked on stage. Get control of your lighting, have some harsh light, and do your check-ins. And don't do weird poses with your check-ins if it's your first time. Just do whatever your coach asks you to do. When you are doing your check-ins, you really just want to wear, like, if you're a female, you want to wear your posing suit. If you're a male, you want to wear your trunks or your board shorts for check-ins. That way the coach could get a more accurate depiction of what you're going to look like on stage with the uniform. This is going to be tip number 3. But another issue I see with people who want to compete is that they really don't know what they're getting themselves into. I'll get a lot of people that will hit me up for competing. The number one question I ask immediately is, have you ever been to a bodybuilding comp? I would probably say 80%, even 90% of these people say, no, I've never been. And I'll try to tell them, just go to a local bodybuilding competition and then check it out. See if you really want to do this. You got to get some type of experience in. It's kind of like saying, oh, I want to play football, but I've never been to a football game, which is a lot of people, man. Like, sometimes I'm amazed by how many people want to, like, oh, I want to do a show, and they've never been to a bodybuilding show. It's kind of weird. So it's like, just go to a show, check it out, soak up the scene, see what it's about, ask people, network, talk with people, see what they like about it, see what they don't like about it. That way you can make a even earlier futuristic decision on whether or not you want to go through this hell of a prep. We're interrupting this video to bring you a word from our sponsors at Granite Supplements. When you're on show day and you need a sick, crazy pump, you need Vasoblast. And Vasoblast is a vasoblast. It doesn't constrict. I feel like the Kool-Aid guy whenever I do these like commercials and stuff. Like, I'm just trying to make it entertaining at this point. But bear with me. But you need Vasoblast. On show day, when you're trying to get a pump and you just can't because you're so friggin' dehydrated, because your coach dehydrated you and there's no water in your system for hydrolysis, which is the mechanical motions of every process of contraction in your body through your vital major organs down to your muscle tissue. I'm sorry, that was a lot of scientific words that make no sense, but go buy Vasoblast. Use my code at Granite Supplements. Sam10. Again, this kind of falls in line with the last one. Figure out your classes, what you are going to compete in. You may not know in the beginning. This is why it's important to get a coach, because a coach could just literally eyeball you and be like, yep, you're going to be in men's physique, or yep, you're going to be in wellness or bikini. Like, they can nail it down. A coach with experience is going to be like, yeah, look up the classes, look up the divisions, and see what you are going to register in, because you have to register for the show. And depends on the division, like classic physique, they may have true novice, they may not have true novice for your first competition. Have you already won a novice show? Like, then you cannot compete in novice anymore. Those type of things are very important. So know your divisions. And the other one is whatever league you're competing in. If you're competing in NPC, which is obviously the most popular one, go on the website, look at the rules and look at the poses for your division, and start practicing your mandatories, start practicing your poses. Too many people, they're like, oh yeah, I want to start prep, I need to get on prep, and they don't even know how to pose right. When posing is everything when you're on stage. You could have a fantastic physique, but if you don't know how to pose right, you're gonna get marked down. Judges want to see confidence, they want to see posing, they want to see a beautiful package on stage, and you got to be able to bring that. Otherwise, your first show is going to be a wet mop. You're not going to know how to pose. You're not going to pretty much know how to do anything if you're trying to do this stuff by yourself. So do your research. And even when you have a coach, continue to do your research. Practice your poses. Ask your coach, what do I need to do? Should I get a posing coach? That's a whole nother realm. People who just, you pay them and they teach you your posing. So the next stuff falls in the line, getting your suit. Depending on which division you're in, make sure you get a suit. Make sure you research how much this is going to cost. Again, if this is your first time, a lot of people don't know, but roughly you're going to spend around $400 to $500 on your very first show. You are paying that. You're paying for your league, which is your NPC registration. You have to pay for that NPC card just to compete. You're going to have to pay for your suit. If you're a female, it's a whole lot of money. If you're a female, you're going to have to pay for your heels. You're going to have to pay for your makeup. That's a whole lot of money. Comp is somewhere else. You're going to have to pay for your hotel. You're gonna have to pay for your tan. Tanning's the biggest one. A lot of people don't know about this, but you got to get a tan. You got to look super duper diced when you're on there, and the tan's gonna help. It's very, very important. You're gonna have to pay for the registration of your classes. How many classes are you doing? If it's your first time in, let's say for example, it's your first time in men's physique, you're gonna have to pay for true novice, an open class, and then if you're over 35, you're gonna do a master's class. So that's $400 right there just for your classes. That doesn't include your tan and what else, right? So just understand what you're getting yourself into. People really don't understand the jump that they're taking, and they'll get halfway through prep and not talk about the expenses, and then when it comes to the expenses, they're like, I don't want to do this, it's too much money. And you've just wasted not only your time, your coach's time, you wasted a lot of people's time, and then you kind of feel just bleh about everything that you just wanted to commit to, but you didn't take the appropriate steps to prepare yourself financially. So that's severely important. The next tip is just going to be following prep strictly. And by this, I mean really executing. If you've competed before, you really don't have to listen to this. It may help you a little bit, but you really don't have to listen to this. If it's your first time competing or you're thinking about competing, when I say follow your prep strictly, I'm talking about your food to your cardio. I mean, 5 minutes matters. Let's say, I'm going to start using some examples. Let's say your coach says, hey, you got to do 30 minutes a day of cardio, right? Pretty normal. And then every day you're doing like 25. You just don't want to do that extra 5 minutes. If you did that every day for a week, at the end of the week, you just lost one whole day of cardio. Those 5 minutes matter when you are trying to get to an unhealthy body fat percentage, right? When you're trying to get on a bodybuilding show, everybody on that show is not healthy. They are very close to death because they're so low body fat and they're starving. And then that slides us into another transition. Starving. Your diet must be followed. You are going to be so hungry. Maybe you tried to diet before, but this is on another level of dieting. I mean, if your coach is very traditional where they do white fish and white rice, which has no nutritional value, and I could go down I could rant about that all day. But if your coach is very traditional and they starve you of micronutrients where you're not getting enough vitamins and minerals, you are going to feel so bad. You're not going to feel good. Your brain is going to be cloudy. Your sex drive may tank. You're going to have zero energy. And the worst part about everything is that you're going to be severely irritable. So irritable. You're going to be angry at everybody. You'll snap on somebody if they don't get your black coffee right. You're going to be a crazy person about 3 weeks out because you're just so depleted and so tired. In the long run, it's good for you. And I mean that from a perspective of you are putting yourself through something so rigorous that 99.9% of the population would never attempt. And I say this because it's like, you look at the average American, I think it's like something like 75 to 80% Americans are severely obese. You're doing something that those people would never even dream of doing. And this is why people who compete go on to be coaches. Because after you've got a few comps under your belt and you kind of get a little bit of experience, you're in a better place to help other people to lose weight. Even with no education and no experience, it's okay to want to help people and coach people just to eat healthier. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a beautiful thing to try to help people live longer, live a stress-free life, live a long life, live a healthy life for their family, for their kids. There's a big reason why people fall in love with this sport in a certain realm. And that's the realm that I love the most, is people coming out of it. You leave the competition crap aside, teaching themselves how to become better coaches, how to become better people. And that experience spreads into families, into life. And it's so important. And I don't think people really focus on that enough, on how many lives you could change just by doing a competition, because you set a standard for your family members and friends. And they're like, oh my God, I can't believe this person did this. And now everybody wants to follow your footsteps. You're now not a pedestal, but you have a little bit of hierarchy with your friends and your family because you're doing something that they can never attempt to do. But it's now your job to help them out. Very, very important. I just want to throw that out there. Okay, next one. Next tip, show day. So important, right? Make sure you show up on time. Make sure you get checked in. You get your little thumbtack badge thing that you put on your trunks or your suit, that you get all that figured out. Mostly everybody does. I don't think I've ever heard a story of somebody missing registration or something. Make sure you get that done. Make sure you get your tan the night before. Sometimes they don't do it like that. I did a show one time where they didn't do a tan the night before. They sprayed me like 4 dark layers the morning of the show. It was okay. It just depends on how they want to do it. So make sure you get your tan. Normally it's the night before, and then you go back stupid early in the morning and get your other coats in the morning. Following is show day. Show day, make sure you're on time. I've made my mistakes in comps where I've missed going up on a class at finals because I was late. I thought I had time, but I wasn't. Make sure you're always on time. It happens at a lot of comps. I think at every comp I've been to, somebody like just hasn't shown up or they were late. So just make sure that you're on time for your classes. Make sure you get a pump. You want to bring bands with you, and keep your food on you all day. Don't rely on like going out, and especially don't rely on a microwave if you're kind of eating like that for show day. You're going to want to have like dry foods and stuff like that. There's a lot of like small things that go into show day, but it's like wear loose clothing when you have your tan. The final tip is after prep. After prep is very big. And I say this because there's a term every bodybuilder knows, and it's called the post-show blues. Let's say you compete on Saturday and the show's over. Saturday night, and it's your first comp. You're going to go crazy with food. I mean, I don't care what your coach tells you. Your coach is going to be like, hey, try to keep it under control or whatever. You are going to go absolutely crazy on food. And I say this because it's not your fault. It's that it is a survival mechanism in your head that you cannot control. It's in everybody's head. You have just starved yourself on purpose to an unhealthy level of body fat percentage, dangerously low. Your brain right now is only thinking about, we need to eat, otherwise we're going to die. That's the only thing it's focused on. So show's over. Your family or your friends want to take you out, celebrate. Hey, did really good on my first show. We're going to go out to wherever restaurant. You're going to order food and you're going to down it. After, you're going to want to go get more food. The night of your show, you're going to eat your mind out. And I've seen competitors, I've coached competitors, they will try to forcefully throw up the night of a show because they just cannot stop eating and their stomach's in pain. They'll just keep eating and eating and eating until they feel like they throw up. But the thing is that it's not their fault. It's your brain chemistry. It's a survival mechanism, like I said. Your body is trying to store fat. It's kind of like you just opened up this floodgate in your brain and your body's like, we've been starving. He's giving us, or they're giving us food right now. Let's eat everything that we can and store fat. There's a lot of other mechanisms relating with fat cells multiplying when you're at a very low body fat percentage, but that's another video I could talk about later. Normally day after the show, depends on who you are, depends on how you feel. You may be so sick from the night before, you're just like, I don't even want to do this. You may be on cloud 9 where you're like, I just did super good. I'm going to get back on cardio. I'm going to get back on my diet, which is the proper thing to do. Because if you want to keep body weight off after your show, it's okay to go out Saturday night. It's okay to go out Sunday, enjoy some food here and there. But Monday, you really want to get back into your old routine. Get all that water weight off. That sodium loading that you did through all that junk food and stuff is going to create a lot of water retention. So you're going to want to get back on your diet Monday. And within like 4 to 5 days, that stuff will taper off and you'll get back down to a normal weight to where you were. That's it, guys. If you have any questions, drop a comment, DM me on Instagram. I'm happy to answer any questions about competing, about any experiences, questions that you may have about competing or anything like that. But I just want to make this video for people who are thinking about competing and they kind of don't know what they're getting into and if they should do it, if they should not do it. Sorry if I sound like a little negative about everything, but it's just like a lot of experience that I've been through and working with athletes and stuff that I see. So it's not like a negative thing. Think about it like problem solving before getting into it. So we're being advantageous and proactive. So until the next video, guys, I'm out of here.